Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode four?
Three.
Three? No, this is four.
It's three, you silly bitch.
We're
Because
are we
I'm
doing
four.
two? Nah, we alternate.
Oh.
Remember?
Oh yeah, I suppose. Episode 4. Yeah.
Episode four of Fateweavers. Hello, I'm your host. I keep the bees. Today we'll be talking about some Warhammer 40k
Hell yeah.
with my boy.
It's me, your boy. Two Love Trouble. What's good? I'm ready for this new lesson here. What do you got for me today?
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't. I was originally going to do a different episode, and then I decided that today we're talking
Oh
Primarchs.
damn, spicy arcs.
Spicy arcs.
Okay, what?
So, what's a Primarchs? I'm glad you
Yeah,
asked.
I was about to say that question real quick before we even
Yeah.
started.
So, this is kind of. I was going to do a history lesson on the beginning of the Emperor, but then I decided that this is more interesting.
Well,
so
technically,
we're
we
doing this
kind of
today.
did yesterday or last time.
Yeah. So, a quick TLDR on what happened in the Horus Heresy, because that's kind of what this is the centerpiece of. So, the Emperor of Mankind is the biggest and the strongest and the smartest of humans. And after humanity made a big oopsie, and by humanity I mean mostly the elves, humanity was kind of in a bad place. So, the Emperor decided that he needed to start a military campaign to retake all of humanity's lost branches because they were cut off for a long time.
Oh, what?
And so, in order to do this, he realized that he couldn't lead all these armies by himself,
True.
and that he needed to make himself some generals to help him rebuild humanity to get it to where it once was. There's a lot of manifest destiny going on here.
Of course, yeah. You know, it's one of those things that one man can't ruin it all, so he's trying his best to recruit his best generals.
Something like that. So what he did is that he went and he had a little chat with these guys known as the Chaos Gods.
Oh.
And he made a deal with the Chaos Gods and he said, "Hey, can you guys help me make myself some generals?" And they said, "Yeah, sure, bud."
Yikes.
And so he went and he used this forbidden knowledge, probably, and he made himself 20 sons.
What?
Yeah, he made himself 20 sons.
God damn.
He genetically engineered himself 20 sons.
That's actually
and they are all between 10 and 12 feet tall. They're incredibly strong, incredibly smart, very powerful.
That's some next
right?
level forbidden juice right there.
Right. He's doing some real Orochimaru shit. And so, he made these guys, right? And the implication is that somehow he didn't hold up his end of the deal with the Chaos Gods.
As always.
And so they took his guys and they yeeted them across the galaxy.
Oh, they just spreaded it?
Okay. Yeah. And so all these babies are spread across the galaxy, and it's sure a good thing that the Emperor is about to go on a galaxy-wide crusade to retake all of humanity's lost empires.
So was it like kind of all calculated by the human man?
It was all kind of like well, I was gonna do this anyway.
I can just pick up my sons along the way.
Yeah. Gotta pick up the kids from school.
Gotta pick up the kids from
Galaxy school, yeah. And so, the Emperor took the remnants of the DNA he used to make all these guys, and he made smaller guys, known as the Space Marines.
Are you shitting me? Is that how actually
No.
Space Marine came to be?
Yeah. So he made smaller guys, and these smaller guys all share certain traits of their father, for lack of a better term. That's generally how they see their Primarchs.
That's fucking amazing.
And so he built these giant armies of slightly smaller guys so that he could retake the, galaxy. So he made 20 legions for his 20 Primarchs, and off they went. And so I'm just going to kind of go over each of the individual Primarchs and their characters and their traits and what their legions are all about. And we're going in the order that they were recovered.
Okay.
Because that's the order they're listed on the fucking wiki.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. So, our first boy, the biggest boy, the titular character of the Horus Heresy, Mr. Horus Lupercal. So, the simple fact is that this is the first one the Emperor found, so by default, he kind of became the favorite.
Okay.
Right? That's, you know.
One of those I
parents.
found you first, my boy. You are now my favorite son.
Well, it's mostly just because the Emperor was crusading with this guy for the longest by himself before he started finding other Primarchs, right? So he kind of, by default, became the favorite son. They fought together a lot.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like Odin, like shenanigans.
Yeah. So I just sent a picture.
I see it.
That's not the right chat, but it's fine.
We'll live.
So Horus is the Primarch of the Luna Wolves, who were later changed to the Sons of Horus at around the time of the start of the heresy.
Okay. So there were wolves first.
And so, yeah, so they are called the Luna Wolves because they were fighting on the moon, aka Luna, and they were so, vicious and overwhelmingly strong that the guys were like, hey, call off your wolves, we give up. And that's why they were called the Luna Wolves.
Oh, interesting.
And so each Primarch represents a certain trait of humanity, right? They're sort of the embodiment of that trait. And so Horus is, above all, charisma. So he was always kind of the favorite brother. He was everyone's friend. He was the Emperor's favorite.
Yeah.
And he was always, he was one of the best generals. But just because they're embodiments of these different traits, they're still, incredibly strong, incredibly talented in war. And so, because Warhammer is about depression, first and foremost.
Can't have depression without Space Marines.
Yeah. And so Horus was the Emperor's favorite, so he had the farthest to fall. He is the first and the leader of the heresy, which is the civil war that happened towards the end of the Emperor's Great Crusade.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a bad time. And so he was the one who eventually struck the killing blow on the Emperor. He's not dead, but
Yeah.
And so the next found is Leman Russ. Now, Leman Russ is the leader of the group known as the Space Wolves. They're furries.
Okay. Wait, so
there's no way around it.
Is he a furry?
He's not quite as furry as the rest of them.
Okay.
So these guys are the Space Wolves. They're from a planet called Fenris, where it's basically Viking time all the time.
A nice sword, looks very familiar.
Yeah. And so these guys have wolves everywhere. All of everything is themed after wolves.
I see. So it's like a Lycan,
and they also have
Lycan
like literally wolf traits as a part of their gene seed.
Okay.
So some of them just turn into wolves when they're fully ascended to become Space Marines.
Interesting.
And some of them turn into like these things called wolfen, which are kind of like halfway between a human and a wolf. There's too many wolves here.
Okay.
But this is sort of the savage primal that's Lehman Russ is sort of the savage primal aspect of humanity.
Like the berserker. He's kind of the
Yeah,
gun ho crazy Viking bloodshed guy.
truly. And so the next Primarch found, we don't know about him.
Oh, okay.
So the thing is that there were originally 20 Primarchs, but now there are 18.
Yikes.
And we kind of know why, but we don't exactly know why. And that's because in the canon of 40k, something bad happened and they're gone now, and the Emperor doesn't let anyone talk about it.
Interesting.
It's literally illegal for any of the Primarchs to talk about what happened to their two missing brothers.
Wow, it's that illegal.
But by sort of picking up scraps here and there because there are references made to them, we understand that they are typically referred to as the Purged and the Forgotten.
Okay.
And so names are never a coincidence in 40k, Warhammer specifically. So we have this understanding that Leman Russ and the Space Wolves almost definitely killed at least one of these guys and their legion.
Oh no.
And then the other one, we don't really know what happened, we just know he's gone, and that the Ultramarines absorbed the rest of his legion.
I don't know what
I have theories.
I don't know what Ultramarine is.
We'll get to them later. I have theories about these guys, but that's for another episode.
Spicy.
So, yeah. Next found is this guy called Ferrus Manus. This is my least favorite Primarch.
Oh no, is he an asshole or is he a bigot?
The issue with Ferrus Manus is that he, sorry Ferrus Manus fans, isn't a character.
Oh no, what the fuck does that mean?
Ferrus Manus exists to be related to Fulgrim.
Okay.
I'll bring it up when Fulgrim comes here. But Ferrus Manus is sort of a conglomeration of traits that I would think are stronger in other factions, right? So he, as a Primarch, he grew up on a world called Medusa.
Oh, okay.
And Medusa has a strong Necron presence, or like an ancient strong Necron presence. There aren't actually Necrons there anymore, I don't think. But when he was a baby, he had to kill this Necron construct.
Construct
and
or
so
construct?
his hands are construct.
Okay.
So his hands are made out of Necron, living metal.
Alright.
So they're iron, basically. His iron hands. And so these guys, their whole thing is that they think that the flesh is weak and that the machine is strong, which is the primary motif for the Mechanicus.
Yes.
So this entire Space Marine Legion, one of their biggest factors is that they're like the Mechanicus.
Ah, so they're pro robots practically.
Yeah, but they believe that
Pro machine.
you have to make your they believe in making yourself stronger through the addition of iron.
Specifically iron.
Well, steel, machines.
Yeah,
the machine is strong. The flesh is
They're a cultist fan of cyborging is the way to go. Cyborging is like the next ascension to humanity.
Yeah, and he could have been a really cool character. They just don't do enough with him. I don't know if it's just because I haven't read like the right books where he's a prominent character, but he's just not much of a character.
Just a robot.
But the next found is actually Fulgrim. Fulgrim is the Primarch of the Emperor's Children. And his whole deal is perfection. He's sort of the pretty boy of the group in his own way. So he believes in perfection and beauty and art in everything.
He's
And so that was passed
charismatic
on to
type.
his legion.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the reason why I say that Ferrus Manus exists to be a part of Fulgrim is that they're best buddies, right? They're bros.
Bro.
Yeah, because in the early days before the crusade had really gotten started and they were really in it, Ferrus and Fulgrim met, and Ferrus is like, I'm the best smith there is, and Fulgrim's like, but I think I'm better than you. And so they went down into the forges under the Imperial Palace on Terra, and they got real sweaty together in the forges for like 6 months.
Oh, they kind of bonded, brother bond.
Yeah,
Brother bond through
and
steel and
so
sweat.
they spent these 6 months real sweaty and unclothed together forging weapons
Okay.
in a contest. And so basically the idea was whoever forged the better weapon was the winner of the contest. And so Fulgrim forged a gigantic hammer. It's the one Ferrus is holding. And this hammer is called Forgebreaker. And Ferrus looked at this hammer and he was like, damn, bro, that's the best hammer I've ever seen. And Ferrus forged this sword. I think it's called the Phoenix Blade, but I'm probably not correct in that. But
Wait, so
Fulgrim looked at
hold
that.
up. The Fulcrum created a Mechanica blade, and while he what's the white dude's name again? The white hair, charisma boy.
That's Fulgrim.
Yeah, Fulgrim created the Mechanica, and then what's the Mechanica guy again?
Ferrus.
Ferris created a non-mechanical blade.
Well, so this is kind of where fantasy elements were brought into 40K, because in 40K you have this concept of power weapons. And power weapons basically have a field generator that amplifies whatever they do. So swords cut better because they have a field that disrupts matter around them and makes them, cut through anything like butter.
Okay.
Whereas hammers have something that could basically, you could swing it and just demolish a tank. And relic weapons are always stronger because they're handcrafted and they're made better, right? It's very fantasy.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so Ferrus made the sword. I think it's called the Phoenix Blade, but that's probably not correct. But Fulgrim was like, wow, this is the best sword I've ever seen. And so Ferrus was like, no, brother, you have won this competition. And Fulgrim said, no, brother, you have won this competition. And then they kissed passionately on the lips.
I'm assuming the last one is a Keck W, but
yeah, but
it was that and passionate.
Yeah. And so these two were the biggest of bros, and they always carried each other weapons. And that made it even more tragic when Fulgrim fell to chaos.
Oh no!
So there are 4 chaos gods, and so out of the 9 Primarchs that fell to chaos, Fulgrim fell specifically to Slaanesh.
Oh no, the Slaanesh.
And that's a longer story, but at the end of the day, he kills Ferrus Manus.
Damn, he did?
Mm-hmm. With the sword forged by Ferrus.
Damn, bro. That's
the great tragedy of Fulgrim.
That is indeed a tragedy.
He's a pretty good character. And so our next Primarch is Vulcan. So Vulcan lived on a planet that was almost exclusively volcanoes.
Okay, so he's like a lava man, hot-headed, hot weather man.
And so he's a lot like Ferrus in that he's a forge master.
Okay.
But he is a lot more in crafting and creating. Do I not? Did I not get a fucking...
Gotta have a picture, bruh. Show me the pickies. Picky icky.
I did not get a picture
Oh
for
my lordy.
Vulcan.
Bro.
Well, I'll give you a quick description for what he looks like. So, Vulcan is the largest of the Primarchs. He is a head taller than the next tallest Primarch.
Oh my god.
Which means that he is absolutely massive, right? And he has black skin. And I'm not talking like black people black skin. I'm talking coal black skin.
You're talking about like jet black?
Jet black skin.
Shit.
And he has glowing red eyes.
This guy?
Making him... Yes, that guy.
Nice. I spelled him wrong.
He is the most intimidating Primarch that there is.
His soldier looks...
He's also the nicest Primarch there is.
Oh, really? That's nice.
Yeah. So his whole thing is that he has the Promethean Creed. And the Promethean Creed pretty much is honor, duty, and he believes in putting civilians above yourself.
Damn,
right?
what a fucking
Which is not...
guy.
It's not really a common theme among Space Marines, because a lot of Space Marines believe that they are enhanced, they're made by the Emperor, they are better.
Yeah, they got that
than
elitist shite.
The people, right? But Vulcan doesn't believe this. He believes in,
Damn,
caring
he's like
for the
Arthurian
civilians.
for the people.
Kinda, yeah.
Nice.
And so Vulcan is always portrayed as being extremely nice, because he kind of was. He's really a bro. So, our next boy is Rogel Dorn.
Rogel Dorn.
Now, Rogel Dorn is an absolute brick wall of a human being. In every sense of the word.
Rogel Dorn?
He's a pretty big guy.
Yeah, he is a big guy compared to the others. What the hell?
Yeah, those are Space Marines around him. But, his deal is that he is good at fortification.
He's a defense man.
And
defense specialist.
Yeah, so Rogel is a brick wall of a human being in every way possible, and he's very much portrayed as he doesn't lie.
He doesn't lie? He's a truth seeker?
Yeah, he has I think he's very much sort of portrayed in a lot of ways as having Asperger's.
Really?
So he never lies because he doesn't see any reason why you would ever lie.
You know what? That's fucking awesome.
This man is so certain about everything that he is that it has an effect in the warp around him.
Damn.
Psyker powers don't work as well near this guy because he is so certain of everything.
Oh, so he has such iron steel determination that not a lot of mental or magical shit could affect him.
Yeah.
That's lit. He's like the iron-willed.
And so the Emperor chose him to reinforce the palace on Holy Terra. It wasn't Holy Terra, it was just called Terra at the time.
Did it
because
become
the
Holy
Emperor
Terra after he was there?
After the Horus Heresy.
Okay.
That's a whole arc.
Yeah.
But Dorn, because of who he is and what he did, he kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Oh, gotcha.
You know?
Yep. Nobody likes that kind of dude a lot, so I understand.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, though.
So, yeah. Rogel Dorn is also obsessed with the magic pain glove.
What?
He's a... Yeah.
What's that?
He has... So, it's a bodysuit that you put on, and it stimulates every neuron in your body to feel pain.
He's a masochist?
He very much has like the like that Marines shit where they're like pain is weakness leaving the body.
Okay.
Yeah, so he believes that, through pain you find clarity. It's like a meditation for him.
Damn, that's an interesting
He's
way.
he's very prominently featured in the Emperor If the Emperor Had Text to Speech series. I've told you about that
Yeah,
before, right? Yeah. And that's where he gets a lot of his memes from.
yeah. Yeah.
So our next boy is Robute Gilliman, also known as Robert Gorilla Man. So, uh, Robute gets a lot of shit that he doesn't really deserve.
Wait, say his name again.
Because Robute Gorilla Man.
Rob-
Robute Gilliman. God. No one ever calls him by his real name, so sometimes it's hard to actually call him by his name.
Robute Gilliman.
Yes.
Is it not Robert Gilliman?
No, it's Robute.
Robute. What does he do? What does he do? He has got cool sword and a lightning power.
Yeah, so back in the day, this guy landed on a planet that was already pretty well developed. Think of Rome. Very Roman ish.
Okay, okay.
And so he was, as many Primarchs were, adopted by the nobility of the world because he's,
Kind of a
incredibly
low-key
strong
god.
and incredibly useful, right? And so by the time the Emperor found him, he had around 500 worlds under his control
Oh
already.
damn! The boy was already doing God's work, literally.
Yeah, so he is known for having like the 500 worlds of Ultramar. He's very much about building
He's Rome.
building
He's
your
Rome.
empire. Yeah, he's Rome.
Yeah, he's Rome. Got you. Don't worry. Fate
And
has a
so
very similar sequence like that. So all you needed to
yeah.
say, he's like Rome. We got you covered.
Yeah. And so he always had this kind of thing where he didn't want just his legion to be warriors, because that's kind of one of the things that leads certain legions away from the emperor and towards turning against him.
Oh, okay, okay.
Is that they're like, when the crusade is done, what do? We don't have a purpose outside of war, is kind of the feeling.
Ah, I got you. I got you.
And so Robute made all of his uh, space marines pretty much to be statesmen.
Oh, interesting.
So after you are done with the war, you will lead worlds, you will be a politician, you will run the government, basically. And also his other shtick was this idea of theoretical and practical. He saw war as kind of study.
Oh, kind of
And
like an
so
experiment.
in any sort of combat situation, you had your theoretical, which is what the textbook would tell you about like a combat situation. So like for orcs, maybe the theoretical is, hey, shoot for the head because without a head they can't survive. But practically that doesn't work, right?
Yeah, because how
No
they are.
plan survives contact with the enemy. So practically you want to cause maximum damage. If you can't kill them, you want to completely disable their body, right? And so that's sort of his approach to war.
Oh, he has
And
no
everyone
prisoner
hates.
concept.
Well, not exactly. He approaches it academically
Okay.
rather than anything else, really. Theoretical, practical in every situation. And so his legion was from the very beginning the biggest, because not only does he have 500 worlds to get recruits from, he also absorbed the leftovers from one of the lost legions.
Ah.
And everyone hates him because he is the box art guy.
What does that mean?
So the Ultramarines, his legion, are the ones that are painted on the box art of all of the 40K
Oh, they're
Space
like
Marines.
he's his soldiers are like the poster child to all the advertising.
Yeah.
And
And
so
like
people fucking hate him for it.
kinda yeah.
That's funny as
It's
fuck.
he doesn't deserve it. The Heresy era Ultramarines are actually really cool.
Okay, okay.
But after Gilliman, Magnus the Red was discovered on Prospero.
Agnes the Red.
Magnus the Red. So Magnus the Red is one of my favorite Primarchs. What? Okay, there was an
Agnes the Red.
give me a second. Okay, the ad's gone. There was an ad on one of the
I
fucking
know
pages
ad
after
block,
that.
brother.
Yeah, I'm a pleb.
Okay.
Okay, Magnus the Red. So Magnus the Red is all about curiosity because he is the most psychically potent Primarch. He's second to only the Emperor. There we go. So this guy is Shadow Wizard Money Gang.
Oh, he's like
They
fucking what's his name?
they love casting spells.
Oh fuck, I
This
forgot his
legion
name
is
from
funded by the
Elden
Shadow
Ring.
Government.
Yeah,
Radon.
he's Radon.
Yeah, sort of.
With mad.
So Magnus is an incredibly potent psyker.
Okay.
To the extent that he was psychically communicating with the Emperor from the time that he was still an infant in his cloning capsule.
Oh damn.
Yeah,
That's
so
pretty big.
he was all about the acquisition of knowledge and magic. And so, because he's such a strong psyker, every member of his legion were psychic.
Okay.
And so they were all about the magic, all about the knowledge. And they didn't believe that there was anything malevolent in the warp.
Oh.
Because the Emperor is a fool.
Oh damn.
So the Emperor very much had this sort of thing that he was pushing of there are no gods, religion is fake. That was the Emperor's whole deal, right?
Yeah, the whole shtick.
And so he didn't tell any of these guys that there were gods in the warp that wanted to eat their souls. And because Magnus is a psyker, and psykers have to deal with the warp all the time, he was victim to this because he didn't understand that there were malevolent things in the warp that wanted to hurt him. And so, at a certain point during the Great Crusade, the Emperor decided that it was time for him to leave the crusade and go back to Terra to work on his own side projects. Specifically because he kind of knew the heresy was going to happen. And so, Magnus was the first to catch wind of the heresy. I believe he knew before Horus was even corrupted.
Oh, okay.
And so
kind of like a dad.
he
Dad like accidentally thought about it, and the kid was like, "Oh."
Well, no, because you can see the future through the warp, right? There's like an aspect of foresight through the warp. And so Magnus found out about this, and he was unfortunately at the time subject to this thing called the Trial of Nicaea, or the Trial of Magnus, which was basically a witch hunt. So a bunch of people were afraid of psykers because everyone is always afraid of psykers. And so the Emperor held a trial to decide what would go on with the psykers. And the outcome of this trial was that no one was allowed to use magic in the Imperium anymore.
Right, you did tell me this
And
a bit
so-
last episode.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You gave me a brief exposition that you had a witch hunt because of psykers.
Yeah,
Psykers had a
well,
witch hunt.
that's just a recurring theme in history. But anyway, Magnus was like, well, that doesn't apply to me because Dad knows that I'm the psyker in the family and he will let me do psychic powers because I'm the psyker in the family, right? He was kind of naive, but he didn't understand. And so when he got word of this heresy that was going to happen, the Civil War, he attempted to psychically contact the Emperor.
Oh.
And so this had two effects. Magnus was using psychic powers, and now the Emperor knew about it, which wasn't ideal. But the worst part of it was that the Emperor was... The Emperor was in a place where he had to psychically shield himself from the bad of the warp. He was working on this project and this thing called the Webway that the Eldar use. It's all warp fuckery.
Okay. So was he like trying to create a mind shield?
Well, he had created a mind shield. And so Magnus...
And the child just shattered it?
Yeah, Magnus was trying to psychically contact the Emperor.
It was just like, what is this barrier? Pop!
Wow, there's this barrier that I can't get through. And so he had to break through it to get to the Emperor, right? And so, by doing this, he completely ruined everything the Emperor was working on.
That's true.
And he was like, Dad, holy fuck, Horus is gonna turn traitor. And the Emperor was like, Magnus!
Oh no.
Yeah. So, at this point, Leman Russ was sent to go get Magnus. The Emperor said, hey, Leman, I need you to go retrieve your brother. He's doing bad shit. And Leman Russ was like, yeah, I'm gonna go get Magnus. Because he doesn't like psychers.
Oh, okay. So he thought the order was to kill Magnus.
No, that comes along a different route.
Okay.
So, Horus is traitor at this point, and so at a certain point he contacts Leman Russ and he's like, hey, you know, I just heard from Dad. He said he doesn't want you to capture Magnus and bring him home. He wants you to kill Magnus. And Leman Russ was like, oh boy, here I go killing again.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like, that's the plan from the start. What you mean?
And so that kind of causes what's called the burning of Prospero, which is Magnus's planet.
They burned his planet?
Oh yeah, they wrecked his planet and his spine.
Oh no!
And so Magnus is backed into a corner because he doesn't want to join the traitors and betray his father, but it's either join chaos and betray the Emperor or try to join the side of the people who are trying to kill him, right? So he is the primary Primarch of the god Tzeentch, the god of magic, the god of trickery, the god of lies. Because, of course, he's the magic man.
Okay.
So, next is Sanguinius. Sanguinius is the beautiful man. He's the lovely younger brother. Everyone wants to give him, like, muss up his hair and say, you're a nice boy. That's our boy.
What's his name?
I haven't sent it yet. Sanguinius.
Sanguinius.
Yeah, he's in the Discord.
He's like a Lionheart kind of guy, huh?
Sanguinius, yeah. Sanguinius the Angel. The Angel? Yeah, something like that. So, Sanguinius is the leader of the Blood Angels, and those wings on his back are very real.
Very real? Damn.
He can fly with them.
God dang, he got air power.
Yeah, he's known for being the melee Primarch.
Oh.
He's one of the melee Primarchs.
He's Valkyrie, then.
Too. Yeah, so he flies around, and he is incredibly strong because he can fly, right? And so his legion is very much the melee legion because they have issues.
Oh, are they just like anti-gun?
Well, no, they're not anti-gun, they just have issues. Okay. So Sanguinius himself is everyone's favorite little brother, right? Okay.
Wait,
But
wait, wait.
the
Is
issue
that
is,
because of his charm, or is that it's just the way it went?
well, he's just a nice
Oh,
guy.
okay,
He's a
okay.
good and nice guy. You know, everyone likes him. He's a good brother. He cares. But his legion has this issue
Eh?
where every now and then they fall into a bloodthirsty rage
Ah, I see.
where they basically become primal killing machines and all they want to do is drink blood, and that's an issue.
Ah, kind of like a starved vampire, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
And it wasn't made better after Sanguinius died.
Oh, your boy died? What?
Yeah, he
That's
dies.
unfortunate.
It's sad. He's killed by Horus.
Oh, damn. Horus fucking going
Yeah.
on killing spree. What the fuck?
Yeah, he's kind of the big bad of the whole Horus heresy. And so these guys are the melee guys. You know, they do their thing.
Why
Our
melee?
next,
I'm so intrigued on why.
they just have this inherent anger to them, right?
So it's one of those like guns can't cure their bloodlust fashion. It has to be the
I
traditional
it's not
bloodlust of sword.
I don't know that it's necessarily a bloodlust. They just always prefer melee. They're just always better in melee.
Hold on.
It's probably sort of a meta reason. But that's our boy Sanguinius. And the next one found is Lionel Johnson.
Lionel Johnson.
Yeah. Lion L. Johnson. His name's bad.
Lion
I did
L.
have a I did.
Johnson?
Yeah. There's like a So the lion, as he's known, is very much the Arthurian knight.
Okay.
Right. He grew up on a planet where it's run by knights. He joined and sort of found his own knightly order. They're all knights. They protect the people. He's a knight. There's not a whole lot to say about him.
Really?
But, yeah. His legion is the First Legion. So they have a bunch of experimental, like, orders. So there are 6 orders that I haven't bothered to look up, but I probably should have. I'm not a very good host here.
Well, you're trying to get everybody first, so we're gonna talk about it one by one, little by little. So.
Oh yeah, but the biggest issue with these guys, the Dark Angels, his Marines, is that half of them actually turned traitor,
Oh no.
and they're still dealing with this today, but they won't tell anyone about it.
Oh.
So, as a part of the Horus Heresy, about half of every faction turned traitor, right? Except certain legions didn't. But half of the Lion was a loyalist, but half of his legion turned traitor. These guys are known as the Fallen, because Dark Angels, right? And so, the Fallen are a secret that they absolutely refuse to tell anyone, but they're still active in the modern 40k setting. And like most of their energy at any given time is set to trying to track down all of the fallen so that no one ever knows.
Okay, okay.
Our next boy is Perturabo, the Lord of Iron. So, Perturabo, you know, like, how...
What's his name again?
Perturabo.
Perturabo?
Yeah.
Is that a P? Perab? Okay, okay. Go ahead.
Perturabo. So, you know, like, how Ben Shapiro is?
Yeah, I suppose.
So that's kind of what Perturabo is like.
What do you mean?
In everything.
In 40k?
Yeah, so Perturabo is all about facts and reason.
Okay, okay.
He's got this whole thing about like he doesn't like the gods, he doesn't like religion, he believes in facts and logic.
Understandable to an
Uh,
extent.
and he very much does war the same way. Like he's gonna take your planet, but it isn't necessarily gonna be livable afterwards
Oh,
because he's it's gonna be so efficient, but it's not gonna be usable, right?
okay.
And so he is a master of siegecraft.
Yeah, as the Lord of Iron, yeah.
Yeah. And so because of this, he has problems with Dorn. He's the one who has problems with Dorn.
Ah,
Because there's this kind of theme where you can't talk about Perturabo without mentioning Dorn, and there's nothing that would make him angrier. Because they kind of have the same skill set, right?
in a way, yeah.
They're siege and fortification. That's their thing. And so there's this theme in the Horus Heresy where Perturabo always gets the shitty jobs and Dorn tends to get the good jobs.
Robbo without your boy. All right, continue.
Yeah, and so Perturabo very much got stuck fighting in the mud with aliens for 100 years, while Dorn was sent back to Terra to fortify the Imperial Palace, right?
Ah,
That's kind of the vibe,
that's a Monka ass vibe right there.
right? And so he became very bitter about all of this. And that's kind of what led him to join the traitors and the heresy, right? But the thing about Perturabo is that he's the kid who did all of the work on the group assignment,
But got
and
none of the
then
credit.
he failed the class because his team couldn't present the project. You
Oh
know?
no.
Perturabo is so
Efficient.
competent, right? He's the most competent Primarch by the time that the Horus Heresy happens. And none of it comes to anything because none of his teammates can get their shit together because they've all fallen to chaos.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And the worst part of it is that Perturabo doesn't want to be a warlord. Perturabo never wanted to make war, he just wants to build architecture. But everyone in his life is like, hey, I need you to go take that planet. And he's like, no! I just want to build my architectures.
He always wanted to build his Legos.
Yeah, literally. Just wanted to build his Legos. And so our next boy is Lorgar.
Ugar?
Lorgar. Where is he at? Where
Is
is
it
my
Logar Aurelian?
Lorgar Aurelian? I have all the images saved. You're good, brother.
Nice.
So, Lorgar is religious trauma the person.
Religious trauma the person.
So, Lorgar grew up on a planet where everyone was super religious.
Okay.
Right? They all worshipped this pantheon of four gods.
Chaos gods? Or just gods?
Shh. Don't tell anyone.
Okay.
But they might be the Chaos Gods.
Oh no.
But Lorgar always believed in the one god. And he was bullied relentlessly for it. It's a good thing he's like a 10-foot tall man. But the thing is that when the Emperor showed up, he was like, that's the guy. That's God.
Oh, he
and the
thought
Emperor
his
was
dad
like,
was God?
yeah. So the Emperor was like, no.
Oh, and he...
Don't you call me God. I'm God isn't real. There is no God,
Holy
right? That's the
shit.
Emperor's whole thing.
That's such a unfortunate turn to make him into a villain. That's a villain arc right there, for real.
Oh, yeah, truly.
Holy
And
shit.
so Lorgar was like, oh my god, you're God. I've been waiting my whole life for you to arrive. And the Emperor was like, don't call me God, I'm your father. And Lorgar's like, yeah, sure, God. Whatever you say, God. And the Emperor was like, Lorgar, do not call me God. I'm not God. And so Lorgar spent the majority of his time in the Great Crusade writing books about how the Emperor is God.
He fucking wrote a biography of how his dad's a god.
He wrote the Bible.
Holy shit.
And he turned every single planet he conquered into like a religious world, basically. He took the time and he stayed on the world
And just
to make sure that
educated
everyone
everybody is like, my dad
Yeah.
is a god. Remember that.
my dad is God. You hear me? And he killed anyone who disagreed, which is basically the opposite of what the Emperor was doing. And so eventually the Emperor was like, Lorgar,
Bruh.
you are slow. You're telling everyone I'm God. I can't put up with this anymore. And he called Lorgar to his homeworld, and he burned down his like Mecca in front of the Ultramarines.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so the Emperor and the Ultramarines showed up on Lorgar's homeworld, and the Emperor made Lorgar watch him burn his holy city to the ground.
Holy shit.
And so that's really the start of Lorgar's villain arc. Because after Lorgar was like, well, I guess my dad's not a god anymore, all the people, specifically a guy called Erebus, who is a recurring theme in the Horus Heresy, was like, you know, maybe your dad doesn't want to be worshipped as a god, but I know some gods who might want to be worshipped.
Oh no. Fucking
Yeah.
whispers
So,
sweet nothingness into chaos.
Yeah, so if it's anyone's fault that all this happened, it's Lorgar's.
Is it though?
It definitely
Okay.
is. It's Lorgar's fault. Magnus did nothing wrong, and it's all Lorgar's fault. So that's our boy Lorgar. We feel bad for him. And our next guy is called Jagatai Khan.
Jagatai Khan.
Jagatai Khan.
I am gonna struggle remembering all these guys.
Yeah, you don't really... It's not important that you remember them. It's just I'm going to introduce them now because it gives you a much better idea of what happens in the Horus Heresy.
Is it like Jagatai
So-
Khan as in like Genghis Khan Khan? Okay.
Yes, he is Mongolian.
Oh, poggers.
Yeah, we got representation up in here, boy.
Lit.
And so this guy grew up on a world where it was just Mongolia, the planet. Everyone rode horses.
Oh, okay.
There was a gigantic field where everybody would go to fight, and so he conquered the world like you do. And his legion is the White Scars.
What?
The White Scars believe in going fast.
Oh, damn, they're like Flash descendants?
Yeah, so they ride jet bikes around the battlefield, and they're having a great time.
Dude,
that's what they're doing.
That's
they're
pretty
having a
fucking
grand old
jamming.
time.
They're just like, our kind, we're all about that speed. We
Yeah,
are
I
speed.
love Jagatai Khan because he's an absolute Chad.
We are
So, Jagatai didn't know the outcome of the trial of Nicaea until well into the Horus Heresy.
Oh.
Because he just sent, like, his equerry, his lead psyker, to go to the meeting. And then his lead psyker just kind of went home, and he never found out the outcome of the trial.
Oh, what the fuck? He's just like, alright, I'm out of here. It's a little dangerous for me.
Yeah, Jagatai didn't know. So he just like kept all the psychers in his legion because he didn't really care either way.
True. I think, to be honest, even if he heard the answers, like, that's not gonna help
Yeah.
me go fast.
He was all about doing his own thing. Wonderful man.
That's respect.
So our next boy is actually my
Oh,
favorite.
your fave, PogChamp.
I skipped Mortarion, but we'll do him after Conrad. This is my favorite Primarch.
Okay.
Conrad Kurz.
I've
Yeah.
seen him a couple of times somewhere. Isn't he like a vamp?
Yeah. So Conrad grew up in a 1960s noir film.
Oh yeah, so he's a fucking count ish.
Yeah. So he grew up on a planet called Nostromo.
Oh yeah.
And Nostromo has issues.
Of course, sounds like it.
So on Nostromo, it was near a dying sun, right?
Oh no.
So there was basically no sunlight to be had. So the world was constantly in darkness.
In chaos?
And
Sorry.
the planet was no, just darkness. And so the planet was riddled with crime, you know.
As one is.
And so no one ever actually adopted Conrad. Conrad had to raise himself on the streets of this crime planet, you know,
Damn.
doing everything he could.
He was literally
so-
an edgy boy, huh?
He's the edgiest boy. And so Conrad is humanity's sense of justice as a person. And so he was like, there's all this crime and injustice on this planet.
He became Batman.
I need to make justice. He became Batman.
Whoa! What the fuck?
He's so Conrad, in his way, decided that the only just world is a world where every crime is punished. And specifically the idea that every crime is punished equally. So he started flaying. So Conrad believed that the only just punishment for crime was a horrible death. So he would like flay people alive and hang their skins in the streets.
God dang!
But it was mostly just because he had this very misguided understanding of justice, because no one was ever there for him or sympathetic to him, right?
Yes, Hiker.
No,
Okay.
or yeah, they all are.
Oh, okay. To an extent.
So in their own way, they all are. But Conrad specifically was cursed with foresight.
Oh no, foresight.
So Conrad had the worst foresight imaginable because he had a very, I guess, negative foresight because of his worldview.
Okay.
So one of the first and most prominent of the visions he had was of his own death.
Oh no!
That very much contributed to his decisions and what he did. So Conrad saw the Emperor sending an assassin after him to kill him. And he decided that that was his fate, right?
Mm-hmm.
From a very young age. And so he believed that every vision he had was truth, was fact. It was going to happen.
Oh, okay.
And he decided to, through all this, take the safest possible route. So if there was any chance that something would go bad for him, he would take the safest route, which was usually killing someone.
No prisoners, okay.
No prisoners, no, yeah.
No witness.
And so he kind of took this idea with him when he was found by the Emperor and he became a general. But something got kind of lost in translation.
Oh?
To his legion, right? So Conrad believed that the only thing that humans understood was fear, and that fear was the only way to control humans.
Oh, no.
And so he kind of kept his thing going. He was very much about, terror tactics, right? And through this, he was kind of conquering on a budget, right? Because if you flay one city alive, the rest of the cities on a planet aren't really going to want to fight you.
True.
They're not. They don't want to try
I
that.
don't want to fuck with that, yes, sir.
But the thing is that the thing that Conrad believed in and believed that he was teaching was justice. But because all of his legion was recruited from Crime Planet,
Oh.
what they learned from Conrad is, hey, skinning people alive is really cool.
Oh no.
And so Conrad's legion kind of degenerated, and he ended up joining the traitors because, he saw his death from an early age. He knew what was going to happen. The Emperor was going to send assassins after him. Very cool. My favorite Primarch. I'll talk about him a lot more, probably frequently.
Okay.
So, back up the list to Mortarion, Primarch of the Death Guard. So, there is the book cover for his book. So, Mortarion, yes, he grew up on a planet where everything was poison. The air is poison. And there were, like, I haven't really found a source to confirm this, but there were either, like, maybe a greater demon of Nurgle, but probably just, like, psyker necromancers who were kind of the ruling class of this planet. And so he was adopted by one of these guys and experimented on from a very young age because they were like, hey, yo.
Hey, yo, free baby.
Hey, yo, free baby? And so he escaped and he raised a army of the people on this planet to rise up against the necromancers. And he called them his Death Guard. And so he very much had this idea of, like, to bow to anyone is the worst thing you can possibly do.
Oh,
right.
Okay. So he's a join me, stand up to the higher power kind of guy.
Yeah. And so the Emperor shows up and he's like, hey, Mortarion, I'm your father. You're coming with me. And Mortarion's like, no. Why would I do that? And so the Emperor's like, okay, then.
Die.
Go kill the dude who adopted you.
Okay.
And so the dude who adopted Mortarion lived on the highest and the most toxic mountain on the planet. And as it turns out, Mortarion couldn't make it to him.
Oh, what?
And so the Emperor kills this man's father, or his adoptive father. And he's like, alright, you have to come with me because you weren't able to kill your father. And Mortarion's like, fine. So Morty is all about perseverance, right? So his ideal kind of thing is trench warfare, like World War II style trench warfare.
Oh, okay, a little gas
because
here.
Growing up on a poison planet, he is incredibly resilient, almost indestructible. And that trait is passed on to his legion. And so, in a cruel twist of fate, Mortarion is passed on to Nurgle. He originally joined the traitors because he hated the Emperor, but then eventually he finds himself in the realm of Nurgle, and Nurgle is like, hey, yo, you can suffer forever, or you can become mine. And Mortarion's like, oh god, my bones. And so he joins Nurgle and becomes the Demon Primarch of Nurgle.
Oh.
He's really cool. His model is fantastic.
Damn. Yeah, the model is phenomenal.
Well, that's not the model, that's art, but it looks a lot like that.
That's cool.
So back on track, we have our boy Angron.
Angron?
Could you imagine what Angron's thing is?
Angron's gotta be red. He's fucking angry. He's Angron, so he's a
Ding 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 ding. He's angry.
He's an angry motherfucker.
So Angron found himself on this Rome-like planet.
Rome?
Where he was taken as a slave and made to fight in the Colosseums, right? And so one of the things they did to him is they put these spikes in his brain that makes anything that isn't anger feel like pain.
Oh no.
Yeah. So Angron was kind of doomed from the start. And so he raised an army to rebel against these slavers on the planet who were making him fight in the slave pits, the gladiator pits,
Yeah,
right?
because he's so angry. He said,
And so the emperor says, "Hey, buddy, you're my son. Join me in my crusade." And Angron's like, "I'm kind of fighting a war here, father." And the emperor's like, "Okay, you do that." And so then, on the day of Angron's final stand, all of his army are cornered on top of this mountain by the rulers of this world. As they make their final stand, Angron vanishes.
oh no, the chaos
He was
god snap him?
No, he was teleported onto the flagship of the Emperor's fleet.
Oh, dude, that's so fucked up!
And he had to watch the last of his army die from orbit.
Yikes. And he has that
He's...
anger implementation? Dude, that's fucked up.
Yeah. And so Angron said to him, "Today you have gained a general, but you have lost a son."
Oh.
So he says, "All right, Emperor, I'll follow you, but I'm never going to love you."
Damn, that's actually like nice wording.
And so his legion, because this is how it is, they all kind of adore him because he's their father, right?
Yeah.
And so they all wanted to match father. They all wanted to match him, so they reverse engineered the nails that are in his head, and they all got them.
What? Wait. Oh, hold up.
Yeah, they all got the nails.
Everyone got the nails?
Well, everyone except the psychers, because if you put them in a psycher, they explode.
What? That's
yeah.
phenomenal. Okay, okay.
So, in a move that surprised absolutely no one, Angron fell to Khorne.
Is that one of the Chaos Gods, yeah?
Yeah. The god of war and murder, specifically. Yeah.
That is to be expected, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
If a dude's so angry 24/7, a god comes to be like, "Hey, yo, want to worship me?
You mad?
I'm you, but a higher plane."
Well, Angron doesn't worship anyone, but it is just convenient for him to be a demon of Khorne.
Oh, he became a demon?
Yeah, many of these Primarchs became demons. All of the Chaos Primarchs did.
Damn.
Well, we think. We don't know all of them, but
most
it's assumed.
Okay.
At least all of the 4 that fell to specific gods became demons.
Okay.
And then most of the others.
How's he looking demon
and
for?
So... he's fucking cool. He just got a new model, actually.
Oh, did he? Nice.
Yeah. Pull up his new model real quick.
Ah. So wait, who are the 4 that turned into the daemons? Oh shit! God.
So the 4,
damn.
Right? His new model is absolutely sick. But the 4 that fell to specific gods are Fulgrim. He doesn't have a model yet. Magnus. Magnus looks a lot the same, except he has a giant set of wings on his back now. Mortarion and Angron.
Most of the people we talked about.
I mean, half of them fell to chaos, so it's not a big surprise.
Yeah.
And so our next boy is Corvus Corax.
Corvus Corax.
Corvus Corax.
Is that a K or C?
A C. And so Corvus Corax is the leader of the Raven Guard.
Oh, I see that. I see a little Raven action.
His whole deal is stealth, except for the fact that he flies around on a gigantic jetpack with wings that are literally weapons.
Okay.
Yeah. But he grew up on a prison planet where until he was able to actually start the proper rebellion, he had to hide. And so it's a good thing that his psychic ability is that he can literally just make it so that people don't see him.
Oh, he makes whatever he is invisible.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And so his whole legion is kind of like terror tactics, but not like Night Lord's terror tactics. More like, hey, we blew up all your roads. You can't do anything now. You can't move your troops. You can't move your supplies. Good luck fighting.
Okay, so he's more of a he's more of a manipulation of supply units and
Yeah.
warfare control.
So they do stealth. All their armor is painted non-reflective black. They have a specific martial art that is basically just being stealthy in power armor.
Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. There's just not exactly a whole lot to them.
Oh,
You know?
I got you. They're just like assassins, and then you just know them as assassins or rogues.
Yeah. And so now our final Primarch is Alfarius Omegon.
Damn, fancy ass name for the last guy.
Yeah, Alfarius Omegon is really cool, right? So his whole thing is that
How do you spell that?
he is all Alpharius Omegon. Don't look him up. So anyway, Alfarius's whole thing is subterfuge and sabotage.
Huh?
He's all about spies and trickery and just general manipulation, right?
Uh-huh.
So one of his things he'll do is he'll go down to a planet and he'll like incite insurrections. You know, he's all about, spies. The meme about the Alpha Legion is that there is no reliable information about the Alpha Legion. And one of their things is that Alfarius is the smallest Primarch, and the Alpha Legion are the largest Space Marines.
Okay.
Like, tallest, I guess. And so, a lot of members of the Alpha Legion will get facial reconstructive surgery to look more like their Primarch. And so, whenever they're in the field, they all go by the name Alfarius.
What?
So, whenever Alpha Legion agents are in the field, they all go by the name Alfarius.
Oh no.
So you never know who Alfarius is.
Holy fuck, that is some next level tactic.
Yeah, he was hated by all of the other Primarchs because they think that he's a tricky bastard and that that's not an honorable way to do warfare.
Oh, because everybody's him. They didn't know which one was actually him.
That and like they all believe in like straight out warfare.
But he's
so they
more
all
like
very
a
much
guerrilla tactic. Fucking slid in whenever you can, destroy supply depots.
Well, he's more like send sleeper agents onto a planet so that 10 years from now when you show up there's a civil war going on and the planet is super easy to take.
Damn, that far,
Yeah.
huh? That's pretty fucking cunning guy.
And Alfarius is such a trickster that I haven't even told you all the information about him.
I bet.
There are 2 of him.
Oh, poggers?
Alfarius has a twin called
shit.
Omegon.
What the fuck? Oh,
And so they both go by the name Alfarius. And no one knows that there's two of them.
Oh my god, that's such genius.
Even the Emperor did not know that there were two of them. These guys are Chads.
Holy shit, that is some next level trickery. Like tricking
And
family at a next level.
it's so good. Uh Even to this day, there are multiple reports of the Primarch Alfarius being killed in the field. But none of them are reliable because you never know who really is Alfarius because they're all Alfarius.
Nice. That's a fucking meme right there.
He's the the worst thing about the Alpha Legion is that they're so cool, but there isn't enough information about them to really flesh them out well.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
You know? So, like, there are things that they've done, but there aren't, like, characters from the Alpha Legion. Because they're all Alfarius. They all have to be Alfarius, right?
So you can have an adventure of Alfarius, and it could just be some random ass soldier's diary. And it's so unreliable, we don't know if it's actually true.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's phenomenally insane. That's big brain. Like, that is
They're really good.
Ultimate information manipulation.
And that's all of our Primarchs.
Yeah, that's a lot of Primarchs.
Yeah. Do you have any questions in your mind, good sir?
There's just a lot to take in. There's just 20 Primarchs and tactics and stealths and twin brothers and blood Angie, Psyker, fuck you, Dad.
And these are all
bird.
Fleshed out characters.
All of them.
They all have entire books about them. Yeah. Each there's a book series where each of the Primarchs has a full book written about them in their childhood.
Wow.
And then different Primarchs have different books in the actual Horus Heresy book series.
God dang.
So, if there's nothing in particular that comes to mind, I think this is an incredibly long episode, and we should probably end it here.
Yeah, I gotta like digest all that. Holy moly, that was a big lore dump.
Mm-hmm. And as we go through each of them individually, which will happen over time, it'll become easier.
Yeah. It was just a big beginning lore dump. That was crazy. I'm dazed.
True.
But yeah, it's I can already tell that it's like thick and crazy in lore.
It's ridiculous. But that is it for me today.
Alrighty.
Thank you to anyone who listened all the way through.
Hey, thanks guys. Appreciate you. Where can they find you?
They can find me if they try really hard.
Okay, so if you guys don't know, you can try to find him. But you can find me at 2LoveTrouble, at 2LoveTrouble, at 2LoveTrouble on Twitter, Twitch, and 2LoveTrouble Dark on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Greatly appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.